are a full-grown man. No, not to harass children. The majority feel that you are being addicted.
Well, this video was a long time coming, wasn't it? Fun fact, I've actually been reading Umineko for as long as I've been making videos. You can tell how little I knew back then from this video I did on Higurashi 7 or 8 months ago, where I mentioned how Umineko is about 70 hours long, and yeah, that was part 1. And here I am a very long time later to finally voice my opinions on this eldritch monstrosity of a word length that still makes me cackle whenever I see it. Look, nobody would invest 230 hours into something and come out hating it, and after reading the last chapter, I would say that this is by no means a perfect story, nothing is, but that doesn't stop it from being my favorite. Most people spend an upwards of 60 to 70 hours on the first half of Umineko, but apparently I am a very slow reader because I managed to clock in an impressive 122 hours, which also ranks me as the 9th slowest reader ever recorded on VNDB for this shit. Contrary to what you may think, I haven't actually read that many visual novels because while spiraling in my dilemma of completance, I thought the only way to truly immerse myself in the genre was by reading quite literally the longest visual novel ever created, and also because I wanted to watch the new Higurashi season, but we'll just brush that part off to the side, you know. For those of you who haven't read Umineko yet, don't worry, I'm going to be avoiding spoilers as much as possible, and for those of you who've come to ask whether or not you should watch the anime, I'd question how you still exist after seeing the universal distaste towards this adaptation, which it rightfully deserves. Umineko no Naku Koro Ni, also known as Sea Cats, takes place in October of 1986 on a secluded island known as Rockinjima, which is owned and lived on by Ushiromiya Kinzo, head of the Ushiromiya family. Who would have guessed? The game welcomes us in by letting us know that Kinzo's about to fucking die and may only have a few months left to live at most as he wallows over his beloved Beatrice, who may or may not actually exist, along with his vast fortune of gold. The rest of the Ushiromiya family is gathered together on the island in their yearly meetup to discuss how they should split the inheritance once Kinzo eventually dies, and as you'd probably expect from a 7th expansion story, this goes very, very bad. Kinzo also kinda hates his entire family because he only sees them as money-hungry vultures, which he's not completely wrong about. After a typhoon sweeps over the entire island and cuts off all contact from the outside world, we watch what is probably the most intense and longest game of Among Us in history, and yeah, that's all the plot synopsis you're getting from me because that shit is boring as squid. This last year has kind of been a fever dream for me, to say the least. I mean, I've invested hours upon hours of my time to this game to the point where it almost feels like a second home to me, and it still hasn't fully settled in yet that the lease to that home has suddenly been ripped away by my own hands because I'm the one who decided to fucking finish it. But yeah, with the playtime being so horrifically long, you will really get to know these characters. It's almost like you're peering into the lives of actual people, even though we all know that some things just weren't meant to be. Basically every character within this story, aside from, well... Basically, every character is treated and given the proper development to make them feel like actual people rather than a plot device, and it even goes so far as to mock these tropes by characterizing the servants who work in Rockinjima that literally refer to themselves as furniture. So yeah, that's pretty ironic. There aren't any scenes that come out of the blue in an attempt to fulfill some sort of self-insert fantasy like head patting or something, because 9 out of 10 times you're getting fucking slapped if you try that shit, dude. Trust me, I would know. This of course comes with the precedent that basically half the cast are, well, genuinely horrible people. I actually like this a lot. It doesn't try to sugarcoat their flaws in an attempt to make you like them more, but rather lets you decide, maybe even think for yourself if you will, something very hard to find nowadays, whether or not their motivations behind their decisions are strong enough to justify the horrible shit they do. I don't think it's a very insane take for me to say that having a story that actually enjoys the thought of letting you bathe in anger and disgust over the very bad decisions that these people make is very, very entertaining. And while I'm on the topic of characters, I quickly want to bring up No, you big stupid idiot, not those characters. Oh, yeah. Yes, now we are fucking talking. Yeah, I just wanted to add in here that reading the Witch Hunt translations for Umineko has left me at a loss for words and how many words these fuckers had to translate and managed to do so without a single typo or grammatical inconsistency in over 1,150,000 words. For the actual characters, I think this goes without saying, but if you're writing a visual novel that's this long, then the only thing that'll keep anyone interested in this would be very good character writing. I think that one of my favorite aspects of starting a long-running visual novel like this is meeting these people for the first time and knowing that by the end of this, I will hopefully have a complete understanding of their thoughts, feelings, emotions, everything. You don't even meet some of the best characters in this series until you're like 7 chapters deep, which says a lot since I can only imagine that the drop-off rate for this game is pretty high. I mean, the length of this visual novel is probably longer than my Azumanga Daioh slippers, and I wear a size 11. We don't even get to see Beatrice for the entirety of the first chapter. It's only alluded to as to whether or not she actually exists, and knowing how long it took me just to read this novel has made me wonder how long it took Ryukishi to even write something like this. I mean, the headaches that come from creating a coherent story with this many layers, not to mention refraining from contradicting any of your previously established rules that you've set in place for yourself, is a hell that I don't think even Burn would have been able to suffer through. He also has a really unique ability in being able to keep a story of this magnitude engaging while also saying the exact same thing over and over again. Oh yeah, did I mention he likes to repeat himself? Yeah, I don't know why, he just keeps repeating the same things over and over again. Did I mention he likes to repeat? Don't get me wrong, okay? I understand why he does it, but sometimes it does feel a little odd in how he tries cramming certain messages into your head like it's fucking subliminal or something, like, Beatrice is really mad right now and she wants to kill everyone, and because Beatrice is really mad right now, she decided to kill everyone because she was fucking pissed. Obviously it isn't that bad, I would hope it isn't, but yeah, with a story of this grand of a scale, I can see how it would get pretty messy if you were to miss a line containing relatively important dialogue because you were too busy staring into Beatrice's big old eyes. If you're wondering how this story spans a length longer than the Bible, well, I can't really talk about that for obvious reasons, but what the main conflict basically comes down to is, do witches exist or not exist? Is magic real or fake? I don't know, I want to fucking shoot myself. Imagine writing a story about writing a story about writing a story that also is just one story out of the universal number of stories, because that's basically what Umineko is, and if none of that made sense to you, don't worry, because I didn't get it either. In fact, I probably should have taken that out of the script. It's hard to process the amount of layers until you're over 100 or so hours deep into the story, which may sound daunting at first, and trust me, it is just as bad as I made it sound, but the payoff makes it totally worth the torturous days of mind rape that you'll be enduring, okay? Fight on? It's like this story was meticulously crafted, Ryukishi God bless, to where everything you learn is a necessary development towards painting a full picture, which is also how I'm gonna segue into the picture frames. Fuck you. The picture frames are definitely one of the most iconic aspects of this series. You probably know them even if you don't realize it. I especially like the picture frame of my true love, the one and only intellectual rapist herself, Erika Furudo. You see, it's funny, because, Rika Furude, Erika Furudo, this guy's really bad at names. But yeah, this visual novel has completely intellectually raped me, and how some of these characters were able to make a full 180 in regards to their personality, yet having it still come off completely natural and normal due to how much time their thoughts are given to linger. There's a comment that really left me thinking towards the end of my playthrough for the track Rose, which is also the first track that welcomes you upon starting the game. It's great how at the start of Umineko we're met with a strange old man screaming in distress about a woman we don't know named Beatrice, and by the end we're all screaming the same name about the same woman named Beatrice. I'm gonna fucking cry. I started wondering when I felt this way myself. I mean, it really is a surreal feeling knowing that you've changed so drastically alongside the characters themselves, especially when you were like me and spent 8 months of their life on this shit. To think that this man that I'd once laughed at now had me bawling right alongside him probably means that the story you're reading is very good! Making you care this significantly for your cast of, as Umineko puts it, a story that is undoubtedly nothing more than fantasy is really challenging my escapism tendencies right now. The dynamic between Battler and Beatrice offers some of the most engaging banter between two leads that I think I've ever seen, and I've seen a bit. You would still be thoroughly entertained if the only thing you were watching these two do was plant seeds in Minecraft, and that's saying a lot. If you're more of a visual learner, let's say, then this video of my Omar-chan stress ball is a very good depiction of my heart while watching these two. While the battles and debates do go batshit insane and are definitely the focal point of the series, it doesn't undermine the value that there is to be had in scenes like Maria strolling through the empty streets at night alone with Sakura, and this. However, what probably gets overlooked the most out of anything is the exquisite music. Fun fact number 2 is you can tell how far into Umineko I was based on the music I used, which some people have even pointed out in the comments. Thank you, Ethan's mom. I do wish more people realized how important the music is, especially when you're reading peak fiction. Like, not only does it instantly set the mood for the scene, but it also factors into like half the overall enjoyment you'll get from reading not only this visual novel, but basically any visual novel. I mean, they are also called sound novels. If you don't like the music in Umineko, first off, fuck you. Second of all, bad take. Third of all, you probably won't end up enjoying this VN since you're gonna be listening to this shit a lot. The track Rose that I previously mentioned is easily one of my favorites within the entire game. It evokes the sense of elegance where even after having reached the top, you've still remained as isolated as ever. I mean, you are living on an island after all. It is really funny to me though, how you can go from classical pieces like Rose and Moonlit Night to yeah, that's a real song. It's also really hard to listen to when it loops for 10 minutes straight, but I mean, if you've reached the point where you're playing Umineko, then you probably already hate yourself enough as is, so. I'd say Reflection Call is the most underrated song from the entire soundtrack, which makes sense. I mean, it only plays like twice in the entire game, so it's very easy to miss, though if you have ears, then you're probably well aware of why I think it's very good! And if you're feeling a little mischievous, then you should listen— oh. Yeah, I could fap to this. Happy Maria is easily my favorite song out of the entire soundtrack, and also happens to carry the most mystery since there still haven't actually ever been any confirmed lyrics as to what this song is actually saying. Black Lilliana evokes a feeling so grand that I kind of understand why Beatrice enjoys killing these fuckers now. And if you want to feel like a detective, then you should listen to Dead Angle, because this is the best way to describe me when I forget to take my schizo pills. And then you have, You know, I remember looking to see what the most popular songs were for Umineko, and I was surprised when I saw that one of the highest viewed songs still hadn't played for me when I was midway through chapter 7, and then I reached the end of the chapter and heard this shit and was like— yeah, that makes sense. Those are my very, very condensed thoughts on the music. I'm gonna leave a playlist in the description of all my favorite tracks that I listen to on a daily basis, because this isn't even a fraction of them. And speaking of a daily basis, I wouldn't mind being brutally murdered on a daily basis if it was by these queens, and I also wouldn't mind being brutally murdered for that transition. Burn and Lambda really do carry this visual novel though, especially in the later chapters with their constant fourth wall breaks and loving chemistry amongst one another. The lack of fucks that these girls give to basically anything in life makes for some of the funniest commentary within the entire novel, and adds a lot of needed comic relief, like how Lambda's way of fighting is by literally unleashing giant nukes of candy. This has to be one of my favorite endings to a visual novel, let alone a story in general, and honestly, I felt like I was sinning by going back to watch the other technical ending, because the first one really was just that good. Thankfully, it's been so long since I started reading it though that I can go back to replay it from the beginning to do it all over again, so I guess I'll see you guys in another 8 months. Bye bye.
教えてあげるよ今扉は開い